Welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
All right, I think we have a fun evening lined up here for you all. We're going to start off with the Highland Park 12, which, oddly enough, we thought we did this a long time ago, but we never did. So we will be doing that now and rectifying that situation. From there, we'll
rectifying that situation. What?
From there, we will do our shout outs to get togethers, and then our smarter restaurant review being Big Bill's New York Pizza, followed up by our smarter challenge being to review the Apple TV Plus Ted Lasso series. Before we jump into all that, thank you to everyone who watches us on YouTube and Rumble. We greatly appreciate all the subscribers and viewers, as well as the many different listeners on the many different platforms for podcasts. We appreciate all of you. If you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave some comments down below. We'd greatly appreciate that. And now, let's get ready for the main event.
Scotch Reviewed.
As Noah mentioned, we really did think we had done the Highland Park 12 long ago because when we were first starting this show and adapting our introduction, we were taking pictures of it in front of the fire pit out back, enjoying some great savory scotch and good times. However, we learned upon close review that was just for photos, and we hadn't actually, damn it, we didn't write that off either. But that was not an actual episode. So this week, the Highland Park 12-year-old Viking Honor Single Malt Scotch. Some quick little tidbits on Highland Park Distillery. Founded in 1798. It is operational with 2 wash stills and 2 spirit stills, putting out 2.5 million liters per year. They do have, compared to some of our other favorites, a very limited number of single malt scotches on the market. They have a no age statement, a 12 and a 14, so 3 in the lower end, as I would call them. If you go to duty free shops, they have a 15 and a 16-year-old, and then beyond that, they have an 18, a 21, and then the big jump. This is like the Olympic jump here. It goes from 21 to 54 years. So definitely a little bit of a stretch there. They typically do use ex-bourbon oak casks, both French and American oak casks, from the Oloroso Sherry region to give their scotches some flavor. It is the second northernmost Scotch distillery in Scotland. There's only one further north, and that's really only because it is located in the Kirkwall on the Orkney Islands, and that is the Kimberlin distillery. But otherwise, it is located way up there in northern Scotland. Highland single malt Scotch. As they state on their packaging here, this is the best way to read it because, as far as other literature, they don't do themselves a ton of justice. They don't go into a lot of depth or history or review. However, they do on their packaging. So the Viking Honor 12-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey, packed with flavors of sun-kissed Seville oranges and rich fruitcake spiced with cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, you'll find molten heather honey. In this whiskey's waves of beet-berry peat smoke. Deliciously spicy and well-rounded. Enjoy our 12-year-old on its own. Add a splash of water to release the flavors, or with a handful of wasabi peas on the side. Not sure I would be doing that, but hey, let's live a little. It works brilliantly alongside a sizzling pan-fried ribeye steak, or with smoked salmon and sour cream. Every whiskey from Highland Park embodies a wild harmony. It's not just the influence of the finest sherry seasoned oak casks on their whiskey as it is matured. It's also the salty sea winds that batter Orkney's rugged coastlines, this intensely floral character of the treeless but heather-rich peat, and the fiercely independent Viking spirit that drives Viking honor, Highland Park Scotch. So we are looking forward to enjoying a little bit of this peat smoke, Highland Park 12-year.
All right, so we have they have a couple of tours, which one is called the PD Experience. It's 25 Great British Pounds, approximately 45 minutes. You get 2 drams along with this tour. It's on Monday through Saturday at the top of every hour, starting at 10 a.m., going to 4 p.m. Then on Sundays, it is 12 to 4 p.m. at the top of every hour. The silent season typically starts in July and goes to September. However, this year, Highland Park is going to go get themselves more green and try to get closer to like the zero carbon emissions type of stuff.
God damn it, Michael Douglas.
And they're gonna actually have their silent season start in April and it's gonna go all the way to December in some cases.
All right.
Then after that, there's the Taste of Orkney. That's 90 minutes long. It's 70 Great British Pounds. With the tour, you get 4 drams on that one. Then you got the Spirit of Orkney. That's 3 drams with part of that tour. And then there's the Wild Harmony. With the Wild Harmony, it's actually 75 Great British Pounds. Lasts 2 hours. And you get 5 whiskeys. And that one is available Monday through Sunday at 11, 1, and 3 p.m. And that goes from April through October. Then you got the Orcadian. Now, the Orcadian tour, this is where we start getting into the good stuff. The Orcadian tour, it includes their famous Warehouse 12, and you get a sample whiskey straight from the cask. You get 4 Tudor tastings of the 1968, 1970, 1971, and 1976 drams there. And then so here it's however, I think for this year and the notations, it says from April through December that they're going to be closed to the public, probably for that renovation. And typically you get six drams with this one. It's 3 hours long and costs 650 Great British Pounds. But yet, the fun does not stop there. Oh no, there's one that's even better. This one's called the Rare and Exclusive Tour. And this includes you being able to go up to the pagoda roofs of the distillery, sample some of the oldest and rarest of their scotches. The Warehouse 12 is also included in this, but with this one, you get a 46-year-old single cask dram, a 50-year-old, which was released in 2018. So you'd be like one of the very, very, very few people in the whole world that would ever be able to taste this 50-year-old.
That's 1968.
Yeah, and then you got a 46-year bottle that's has never been released yet. It's 3.5 hours long. It costs 1,300 Great British Pounds. You get 6 drams to drink, and the group size is only 4 people.
Well, something that's very interesting about Highland Park Distillery is that it's owned by Edrington. Now, for those of you who know or may not know, that's also the group that owns the Macallan, the Glenn brothers, and the famous grouse. So with that, there's a lot of lineage, a lot of history, a lot of trust in a distillery, along with the Macallan, who's in its past had its own ups and downs. But for that distillery to do its own thing, like immediately I'm like, wait a minute, you're going to take away from your consumers to go green? FTS. But maybe in the long run, maybe that's the Viking way. Although I'm pretty sure they were burning every fire they could. So they're like me this morning out back. So with that,
Raping and pillaging.
that too. Let's go find us a dragon. With that, we will proceed with this week's Scotch. Again, Highland Park 12, spicy and well-rounded. Rectangular box.
What's the orange on the side of the box?
It talks about the 12-year-old is the Viking honor, spicy and well-rounded, a wild harmony of honey-drenched oranges, winter-spiced fruitcake, and floral peat smoke. The 15 and the 18 are listed below.
Oh, okay.
Orange on the inside as well, as we have experienced and thought we'd shared previously on the show. The bottle's pretty dynamite itself, pretty intricate, not a traditional cylinder, however, very well decorated with what I can only presume is meant to be body tattoos on this beautiful glass bottle. As I remember from our previous experience, the foil is not foil at all. It is a plastic topper. However, once removed, it does have a pretty profound top.
Is it wood plastic?
And a solid cork topper. I think they've done a fine, very fine job making this plastic topper look like it's wood, but it is plastic. The weight is kind of a giveaway.
Yeah, the way it is. Too bad.
Right? I actually want to revisit the last one. I think the last one was still really wood.
Possibly.
That's what she said. Tragic when you have to go from wood to plastic. All right.
She didn't want the wood. She wanted the plastic.
Hey, man. Stays hard.
Does it vibrate too?
Plastic apparently never goes limp no matter how old or wet it gets. All right.
Oh, I guess off to our tasting notes and our warp speed. So cheers.
Cheers.
The Highland Park 12, the Vikings honor. Is that what it is?
Viking honor.
Vikings honor.
Fuck.
All right. So first off, I'll start off that it's a winner of 9 Spirit Awards. It won double gold for single malt Scotch to 12 years in 2022 at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. It won gold at the Distillers Single Malt 12-year and under in 2020 at the International Spirits Challenge. Gold for Highland and Islands up to 12 years in 2020 at the Scotch Whiskies Masters. Gold at the Highlands and Islands up to 12-year in 2019, the Scotch Whiskey Masters. Gold Highlands and Islands up to 12 years in 2018 for the Scotch Whiskey Masters as well. So it being that the price point for this, which is like
$60,
less than, it's like 55 or 54
tax.
Yeah, with tax, you talk about 60. But when you're talking about that price range, that like have it win all these like gold medals in these different competitions, that is pretty amazing. As far as like for me, with the presentation, I love the box. I think the box is great.
That's what she said.
I like the black. I like the shiny silver in there, and actually the orange doesn't clash or anything like that. It looks really nice with it, and it actually kind of makes it like stand out some, which is kind of nice. It catches your eyes
all the way.
Yeah. The bottle, I love the bottle. I think the bottle's great. It kind of reminds me of like the whiskey bottles that you always see like in the westerns and stuff like that.
Snake venom.
Yeah, right. And I love how intricate the bottle is itself, and like the label's not super huge, and it's not really taken away from the bottle or anything like that. The one flaw is or I should say 2 flaws, is that it's a plastic thing, and it's a plastic wrapper, not a foil. and it's a plastic topper, not wooden. So because of those two reasons, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 on that. The color, I love the amber gold color here. It has it's really pleasant to look at. It's really nice. I'm giving that normal 5 out of 5 there. All right, now jumping into the nose. On the nose, I got honey with burnt orange, malt, and oak. And there is maybe the malt might be even something a little bit different than malt, because I know like on the box you said it is like fruitcake, and but I think it might be closer to fruitcake than it is malt. That I might be smelling there, but I lean a little bit more towards malt or even cereal. But I really picked the cereal more out in the palate than I did in the nose for me. But as far as the nose is concerned, I gave that a 27 out of 30. I liked the nose. I thought it was really great. It was inviting. Had nice complexity to it. With a little bit of sweetness. And you get like the nice oak and stuff like that as well in there. The palate, I had honey creaminess. Let's try this again. Honey creaminess with orange, cereal, and green tea. Is what I had on my flavor profile there, as far as the palate is concerned. And it's kind of like the green tea part is kind of like really kicked it in for me. I really enjoyed that part of it. At least that's what I got out of it. And so I gave the palate 27 out of 30. And then as that starts to dissipate and go into the finish, here's where I started getting a kind of like a oaky cinnamon and clove flavors coming through on the finish, which I enjoyed, but I didn't enjoy them as much as I enjoyed the nose and the palate. The nice thing though here wasn't like it was like overly powerful with the spiciness from the cinnamon. So here I did give it 26 out of 30. So I had a total of 89 points here. Would I take it to a black tie event? I'm borderline on that. I think the box is worthy. I think the bottle, it's the bottle, not the Scotch, but the bottle is fairly worthy. If it was definitely was a wooden top, I'd say yes. My thing is if I'm taking it to a black tie affair, do I really want to bring a $60 bottle with me? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm on the borderline there, but I probably would want to bring a different statement than that. So I probably wouldn't do it. Although I might keep it out in the car or something like that.
Jesus. Hey, baby. Nice to meet you at this wedding. Good black tie event. Let's go back to my car. Got the good stuff. Not the 18. I got the 12. Vikings honor.
It'd be like one of those. What I'm talking about is I'm not sure I want to have that be my message at the black tie event, but I wouldn't mind carrying some on me to dip it elsewhere, out on the side, in the shadows, planning my attack.
Leaving the black tie event over here.
Would I take it to game night? Definitely I would. Do I think it has a place on your shelf? I actually do. It's really good. I enjoy it. I think it's a great bottle. Yeah, so I think that's everything. I might have forgotten something, but
all right. Well, our scores are not so different this go around, but unlike many, they are not the same. For myself as well, I gave it a 4 also for presentation, just because it's missing that next step. It is a great presentation. It's just not over the top, and you pretty much have to be over the top to get that 5. The plastic topper does bum me out. I'm kind of getting I can deal without the foil. because they did a really nice job here with their plastic wrap, so to speak. Well, let's face it, man, not many people love condoms, and that's what this thing feels like. All right. Well, with that, we go from a 4 to presentation to a 5 for color. This color is Dynamite. It is a bright, vibrant gold. And I'm not a huge fan of gold, the precious metal myself, but this color looks dynamite. It is sun-kissed. It is Islandic. It kind of reminds me of the Glenfiddich 21 year. Which is a very fond memory. It is fantastic. On the nose. So color of 5 on the nose. I got some different things than you did. I started out with some heather, and then right after the honey. The heather is the sweet honey. The honey is so sweet. And then some peat and some creme brulee. But there is definitely just a slight presence on the nose of peat. And then, one of my favorite things, peach. I could eat a peach for hours with just a hint of oak. I gave the nose a 27, and I actually feel like I could have easily given it a 28, but I also gave the nose a 27, so we did match up there. However, the palate for me ultimately is the victor in this Scotch. Oh, this is where this Scotch wins. The heather returns, and there's a hint of sea salt with it. And then there is some rich fruit, and I'm going to say pound cake, not fruit cake in the sense where it's that dense cake, but more of a pound cake. It's still got the sweetness and the body, but it is absolutely dynamite. It's that orange that comes through, and as that body, which I gave a 28 to for the palate, 28, goes into the finish. Again, it's just slightly lower. My finish is at a 27. I've got brown sugar. I love me some brown sugar, toasted nuts, and smoke. And
too many nuts on the field there, man.
Dude, too many nuts on the field.
Sorry.
But for me, again, the 27 on the finish, a 91 total. This to me is, particularly because of the price point, you're talking about $60 and under. This is an exemplary example of what a distillery can do. High quality product focused on product versus profit. Would I take it to a black tie event? Absolutely. I would 100% take it to a black tie event, and I would talk about all those things that we already have. Hey, this is a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. I don't know that I so much believe in it that they're going super green or trying to, especially if they're using plastic on their tops instead of a foil. But they've got other things they've got going for them. They're still using real cork to help save the trees. Believe it or not, we need to use the cork. Otherwise the trees will perish. So they're doing a lot of great things. I love the bottle. I don't fret walking into a black tie event with this Scotch. I do understand what you were saying, and I'm not saying it would be my first choice to walk into a black tie event with, but it wouldn't make me feel less. I would still feel weighed and measured and adequate. Game night, absolutely yes. Place on the shelf, 100%. I love on the nose and the front of the palate that heather along with the honey. And the fact there's only one more northernly Scotch distillery in Scotland is pretty cool history too. And goddamn, they've been around for a while. I mean, they've been around since 1798. Illicit or not, they haven't hidden the fact that they were in operation before it became legal. Or maybe they were one of the few that could afford it back then or found a way to afford it. So, Highland Park, cheers.
It's time for our shout-outs.
My shout outs and get togethers are really simple. One shout out. This one goes to Mila going to Mexico with no parents, first international trip. Kudos being brave and strong and being willing to. I can't imagine it was the most comfortable thing to do ever, but being willing to step out of a comfort zone of your home country, let alone state, and go to a foreign one and have a blast. So cheers, Mila. Yeah.
I don't have anything this week.
All right. My only get together, man, like, give it up. Everyone else who's trying to run is a Republican. There's one in particular. Don't even have to mention the name. All you need to know is Donald Trump has got the Republican vote. If you don't, then that's just actually foolish if you're Republican. So that's it. All right, this week's restaurant we review Big Bill's New York Pizza. And it's interesting because we did try going here Super Bowl night.
Yep.
And they closed early. God damn you, Big Bills. But upon a little resiliency, we did venture back and enjoy their food tonight. No, you want to kick it off?
The last time we went there, which was a couple weeks ago, during Super Bowl Sunday, the parking lot hasn't changed, so it's still atrocious.
God damn their parking lot.
So the parking lot still sucks. So I think I gave that a 5 last time. So it's still a 5. When you walk in, it is not sexy whatsoever. It looks like a. I think it really helps to find like the hole in the wall joint, you know, where you just you kind of wonder, like, is this place safe, sanitary, or whatever? I don't know. It's just like it doesn't look like shiny, flashy, and sexy. It's like the total opposite of all those things. But I didn't notice any fans that had a bunch of like dust bunnies and shit hanging off of there. So
definitely no shit.
So I would definitely say, like, as far as like that part's concerned, the interior I wasn't like a super big fan of, but maybe that's also part of the style that they're looking to go for here, like as a New York pizzeria. So I'm not really quite sure. So I'm gonna give like the interior itself a 6. The atmosphere seemed pretty good though, because you had a nice mixture of, and you talked about this, there was a nice mixture of like young and old people there. So the atmosphere I didn't mind. I thought it was pretty nice. So that's like, so I did a 5, 6. The atmosphere itself, I would say, is like probably like a 7. The wait staff, I thought they did an excellent job. In fact, we had like multiple people come over and ask us if we had our if we ordered our drinks or if we needed something to drink and stuff like that. And they had to switch out from our original waitress to a new waitress, so that way they could serve wine to the table. So with that, I thought the wait staff did a great job. So I'm giving that a 9. And the food itself, I really enjoyed. We got this. You ordered some kind of appetizer.
Sticks and stones.
Sticks and stones. I think there were garlic knots and some kind of breadsticks.
Seasoned breadsticks, yeah.
Those were excellent. And then the pizza was excellent too. You mentioned this. The cheese was great on there.
Fabulous.
The crust, for a thin crust pizza, this is something that I kind of got used that I liked when I was out in New Jersey / New York area for a little while. When I was there for a business trip, but like their thin crust on some of those pizzas were crunchy, and here it had some of that crunchiness, so it wasn't just totally like floppy, limp dickish type of thing. Which I
plastic, no.
But I think the crust itself had a nice flavor to it. The meats were all great. The sauce tasted well. I'm giving that a 9 as well for a pizza joint. I thought the value was good. So I think the value is still. I think I put the value as like a 9. I didn't really see what the grand total was, but
It was like $40 for all of that.
So I think
That's
it was a
wine, pizza, and the appetizer for 2 people, and we brought home 4 pieces of pizza. That's phenomenal.
So yeah, it was a good value then. All right, so it, on an average is 7.5 out of 10, which I think was pretty good for this place. And I thought actually my average score might have been slightly bit higher, but I think when you look at the interior and the parking lot, that really drops it down. You take those out, and you're looking at a pretty good score for this place. Is it a destination? You know, that's. I'm gonna say no.
There's the struggle.
Would I take a date there? Yes, I probably would. Would I meet a friend there? Yes, I would. Is it a destination? I'm going to say no, because here's the thing. On the way going there, at least from our area that we live in, there's Marco's Coal Fire Pizza, which is an excellent and great pizza.
Phenomenal.
And that is truly a destination spot. So if I'm going to go grab pizza and there's like another pizza place that I know that's the destination spot for us, or at least for me or in my book, I'm not going to really drive past Marco's Coal Fire Pizza to make it to Big Bills.
Especially because you have more wine and beer selections at Marco's, including stuff on tap.
Exactly. Which was that was the one part I forgot to mention. Like, I wanted to try their Forget About It special brew that they have for their place, but apparently whatever brewery that they were working with said that they weren't going to brew that anymore for them, so they didn't have any beer on tap. So I just ended up drinking water, which is probably better for me in the first place anyway. So, but it would have been nice to have some beers on tap there.
Better for mind or better for spirit?
So, anyways, I actually like the place. What I will go back though, because I want to try one of their sandwiches. Because when there's like, I saw like another table, some guy ordered a sandwich, and that looked pretty good. So I don't know what sandwich he ordered or anything like that, but it looked pretty delicious. And it I think you made a comment. It looked like a salad.
Like a damn salad when they first brought it out because it had so many fresh veggies on top. It did look amazing.
Yeah. So I want to go back and try like one of their sandwiches and stuff like that. So. And maybe, like when I try with some of their other dishes, maybe that might change it to a destination spot. I don't know.
It could. The 2 things that I will say that would transition it to be a destination for me,
Better interior,
would have everything to do with environment and atmosphere. And that was my only struggle with the place. And you mentioned the word sexy, which is my word. And I agree with you. Like, it was.
Well, I used your word because that was the only word I could come up with.
Not sexy. Fuck.
It wasn't shiny and neat or anything like that. It wasn't modern.
It was definitely clean, though. And we saw them cleaning. They did a great job. So as we move on to my version of Big Bill's New York Pizza, I'm very close to where you are at. The environment sucks. The parking lot is bullshit. It is simply bullshit day or night. And it was insanely busy. They're recently moved in, or at least as far as I know, recently moved in a Los Dos Patrios. And I can only imagine that is what has made this parking lot insane. Because it's decent Mexican food. I wouldn't flock there for this, but there's nothing else in that parking lot that I could imagine driving that business the 2 times we have been there. So the parking lot, the exterior environment gets a 5. The atmosphere inside, just ever so slightly better. Again, not sexy. Very simple. And with that, I mean like Simple Jack simple.
I was about to say Simple Jack.
There you go. So atmosphere is 6. We're going to leave that one alone so we don't breach any wrongdoing. Now, here's where there's an absolute flip of the coin. The food. To me, the pizza, the Big Polly, and the Sticks and Stones, a 10. I'm giving the food a 10. I didn't try the sandwich, which looked phenomenal. Literally, it did. A glass of wine, well priced for a good glass of wine. The food was absolutely a 10 to me. The pizza's dynamite. And the Sticks and Stones were perfect. And I can't even figure out why. They were great. I've had better garlic knots. I don't know that I've ever had a mix and a combo of better garlic knots and breadsticks together. And I think that's part of what made it so fantastic is you have a basic garlic knot. Or I shouldn't say that. My perfect garlic knot has just a little more fresh garlic on it. However,
yeah, I agree on that.
However, man, between the garlic knots and the seasoned breadsticks, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful transition back and forth. That was absolutely a win. So food at 10, service right there, super high end. We're going to call a medium range restaurant a 9. They were attentive. They were on the spot. They delivered well. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing that was making it a 10, but there was absolutely nothing that says they were anything less than a 9. So service was a 9. Value because, and here's what's interesting. The value for me ultimately comes down to food and service. And what I'm getting as my experience in there, the food was so damn good and the service was good enough as a 9, which is great. That's great service. My value is still a 10. Like the value, you take out the parking lot and the initial less than wow factor walking in, the value was a 10 for what we got. This place is a win. So would I meet a friend there? Absolutely. Would I take a date there? Yes. And it would be fun to take a date there, minus the possible trepidation of am I going to find a decent parking spot? But the food was great. Is it a destination? Here's the one thing. A destination to me, I think a big piece of that is the atmosphere. And that is where this is not a destination. But as far as do I recommend or not recommend? Yeah, go for it. It's just not necessarily if I'm going for pizza at this point, it's not where I'm going from where I'm starting.
All right. There you go. Be safe. Go there. Try it out. It's worth it.
For sure. This week's Smarter Challenge, Ted Lasso, 3 seasons, TV show review, available at least initially and currently on Apple TV. What a dynamic show.
I agree. I've been told by many people I needed to see this show, that I have to watch it. It's a must see. And for whatever reason, I never really wanted to. But then the other day, I think it was last week or whatever it was, you were grilling some steaks, and so I'm like, I want something on the I needed some background noise or whatever. So I turned on the Ted Lasso while you were outside grilling up those steaks.
It's not just any steaks. You got some monster, beautiful ribeyes.
And it was from the get go. It was a pretty funny show, and it hooked me pretty well. And I loved the show. One of my first, I guess, my initial big takeaway is I loved how the character of Ted Lasso, and we talked a little bit about this at Big Bill's, is that he has this show has really demonstrates EQ, or the importance of EQ. Which is what emotional intelligence or emotional.
Ultimately, it is emotional intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. And how to handle people and stuff like that. And I think if you ever want to see what it's like to be if you want to watch a TV show and a comedy at that, I guess that actually deals with a lot of real world stuff. This show, I think, does a great job of showing what it means to be a mentor or a coach, and how to handle people, and how to maneuver the waters when you're dealing with a bunch of different types of personalities, and to be able to succeed in your goals. So that was kind of my big takeaway, as well as that if I wanted to watch a TV version, a TV comedy or sitcom thing about the book by Dale Carnegie of how to win friends and influence people, this would be the series I would watch. What would be your first main big takeaway from this series? So
this is going to be interesting to hear your perspective when I make this comment, because I agree with you. At the end of this at the end of this review, I want us to talk about three things. Would you watch it with a friend? Would you watch it with a date? And is it something that ultimately becomes a destination for a show you want to watch if you want to feel a certain way? And watching it, you know, those first couple episodes with you that first night, man, initially it's funny and it's serious, but it's lighthearted enough, but it's also poignant while not making it painful as far as delivering statements. And the one thing I would say after watching 3 seasons of this, and you're right, you get through season 1, the average episode's like 27 minutes, I think. You get through episode 2, it's about 2/3 the way through episode 2. All of a sudden, the episodes go from about 30 minutes to about an hour.
Do you mean season 2?
Yeah, sorry, season 2. And then you get into season 3, and it's like, there are episodes which are an hour and 10 minutes long, and they're worth every minute. But the one thing I would say is, you mentioned a mentor, but I also think that with a mentor, there has to be mentees that are also positive feedback partners, where people give feedback and hold you accountable in very many ways, but then also give you enough rope to let you make a choice on your own. And what I would say is what I loved most about this show is that at the end of this show, I saw the accounts of males I have known since I was a child all the way through this current year. There are those which absolutely take care of everyone else but themselves. There are those that only take care of themselves and no one else. There are the giving. There are the selfish. There are the insecure. There are the overly secure. There are the ignorant. And this show really emphasized the importance of not having a ton of friends, but having a few friends, wolfpack or hound dogs or whatever you may want to call it. Like literally a chance for a man to, and that's what that is a chance for a man to step aside. And because of most of the world's culture, we have to only acknowledge it as I'm going to step out of my masculine side and become feminine. I'm not saying that's right. You're not saying that's right. I know that for a fact because we have these conversations all the time. But that is the general social norm, which is, man, for you to show emotions, you are feminine. You're being weak. And I think that this show made me feel good about, if you will, how weak I am. I show emotion all the time. I take my kids to the movies and I cry. I am not afraid of it. And I know sometimes they're embarrassed by it, but they, I believe, love me nonetheless.
So I think you mentioned something here about like men who take care of everyone else.
Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso, and this is something like a couple of my mentors who are, you know, they're multimillionaires and stuff like that. But what they've said in the past to me when they were mentoring me is that one of the things that you don't want to do is you don't want to bring your negativity or show weakness, basically. Everything should, the way they said it is like everything should roll uphill as far as you, like if you have a bad day or anything like that, everything goes uphill. So you talk to your mentor about that. But any kind of negatives or bad things that happen in your life, you don't share with the people that are on the same level as you, or that are the people that you're mentoring, or in this case, with Ted Lasso coaching. But at the same time, they also kind of made it a point, like if it's something negative, that's something you'd be like, maybe you should be handling, and maybe not really sharing it because you don't want to ruin a positive environment type of thing too. And so I think what happens here is like when people hear stuff like that, sometimes they're not sure like what they can or cannot share to get help, right? And so what ends up happening, and this happens a lot with guys, is that we end up bottling the stuff up inside, and therefore we don't really show our emotions a whole lot. We don't share what's killing us on the inside. But yeah, we are there to try to keep a positive environment, help people along, and they don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden, like something kind of like what we see in Ted Lasso in season 2, he starts to get panic attacks, and he doesn't know why he's getting panic attacks. And then he has to go see a shrink, which he really did not want to go see the shrink at all.
It's another sign of weakness based on normal society norms.
Exactly. But here's the thing, even if you like, I am not even saying like go see a shrink. Okay. All I'm saying is, and I don't know if I would ever see a shrink either.
I've seen one.
I have
dynamite. Like if I could afford it, I'd do it every week.
But here's what I would say is that you do need to have at least a confidant or someone that you trust, or maybe a few people that you trust, to where you can share those things or bounce some things off of each other, which is what they did actually too, because they created a small, if you want to call it like a mastermind group almost in a way, but more of like a support group for these guys here, and they call them the Diamond Dogs. I think it was called the Diamond Dogs.
It is the Diamond Dogs.
Okay, and you hear them all like they all
have their different sounds.
Yeah, so they all bark or howl or whatever. But here's the thing: is like. They don't necessarily like solve any problems, so to speak. I mean, they kind of like try to like, but it's more about giving advice of like how to approach things or something like that, where someone has an issue or they have a thought, and then it kind of gives them a pathway. It's different than like girl talk that you see in the series, because girl talk, Ted Lasso talks like, we just talk about stuff, we don't try to solve anything. And they're like, yeah, and he's like, okay, I can do this, right? But then when you see, but he can't, right? Because guys don't do that. That's not something we do. It's not.
We try.
Yeah, but so like with the Diamond Dogs, right? They do talk about stuff, but they give advice, right? So,
but it's beautiful because it's philosophical advice.
Yeah, it's philosophical.
It's not an answer. It's not me telling you this is the right thing to do. It's like, this is a way to perceive it.
Yes. So it gives them like different points of view or philosophical points of view, so that way that person can take that information and then go solve it.
Fuck.
So that's what like. Sorry, I know I went kind of on a.
No, you're right. You didn't go off on any tangent.
Okay.
That is 100% what your comment was this point of one of the great things about this show being. It starts to break down and try to explain, whether it's to all or just mostly to men. I'm guessing it's mostly to men. Hey, it's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. And it's okay to make mistakes. But guess what? It's important to try to adapt, to change, to improve, either on a surface or a subsurface layer of yourself for yourself. And that's the real truth, is by making yourself better, you're better for all others.
Yeah, I think wasn't one of the questions they asked in the Diamond Dogs is like, how do you know if a woman likes you?
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't.
You don't. And they're just going around, and it's just like, but that's real.
It is.
And here's what's crazy is you get to an advanced place or a mature place in life, and the real truth of the matter is a strong woman will always let you know if she likes you, because she understands the importance of needing that just like she needs that. And the other piece is, man, when a man does not feel valued over time, you know, I think any real man will literally kill himself or nearly kill himself for a woman until he gets to a broken point of he doesn't feel like anything he's doing is valued. And then she can say, this isn't worth it. And he can literally walk away. Because he's like, okay, I'm literally broken inside my body, my mind, my soul, an athlete being married to some of these people. And then they finally retire and they're like, hey, let's go spend some time together. She's like, no, I've been used to not having to see you more than an hour a week during a press conference or something else. This is not, we're getting a divorce. It's fucked up.
It is. But I think another great thing about this show, though, is it shows a lot of great character arcs of like where people start off in the first series or the first season to the end of the third season. Like Roy comes along, Roy Kent from like being like kind of like an old superstar who's like in his twilight years in the sport to becoming a coach, a mentor, and then also like he grows as a person because he's like the angry player, and now he becomes more of like a concerned coach, mentor.
Yeah, and is it Brett Goldstein? Does
I
that
don't
sound
know.
right?
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
that Brett Goldstein, I think is his name. Absolutely. But really what he does is he understands where his anger was misplaced. And that it's not that he's actually angry at people. He just literally at the beginning of the show can't communicate. And the moment he learns to start communicating, he becomes a decent human being. And then when he starts to communicate well, he becomes an amazing person.
Yeah, he does. And I think the best part about him, like everyone seeing him as this like super grumpy, angry guy, is that you see like this total sweet, like teddy bear of a guy when it comes to his niece.
Yes.
That's like his like biggest, like, I don't know. I don't want to say his weakness, but it's like that's his biggest soft spot, I guess.
It's his breaking point is what I would call it. It's the point that would either make or break him. And I want to point out that even at the beginning of the show, if she did something he didn't like, he didn't care. He let her know. No. But towards the end, you're in season 3 and she gives him this tie-dye shirt, which I actually thought was phenomenal. I loved his tie-dye shirt. It was beautiful. Like the fact that she made it was even more beautiful. And then when he's wearing it though, and everyone's like, you're a different man. They aren't just saying that because of what he's wearing. It's because he literally had to change as a person and grow as
he
an
didn't want to
individual.
wear it originally. When
Right.
he first got it, he's
And-
like, I hate this.
And in season 1, he wouldn't have.
Right.
And in season 3, he gets so frustrated after a couple comments that he takes it off and throws it out. And then he drives back and picks it back up because he understands the impact, not just his time his position has, but his presence. In other words, no longer is he just some person on a team. He's a person making an impact with every word, with his body language, with all of his actions.
Yeah. And I think it's also funny because like when he does meet with the Diamond Dogs, they talk about how he's changed as a person too.
Well, they're all like, yeah, he's like, what do I have to do to join this Diamond Dog thing? And they're all like, and he's like, what are you doing? We're looking for cameras because we're assuming we're getting punked. They use a different terminology, but
Yeah. And since we're talking about that character, Roy Kent, he's actually my favorite character in the series too.
Well, that brings up one of my questions, and that is, if you could be any character in this show, who would you want to be?
Oh, that's tough. Let me think about this one here. Can we come back to this one a little bit? I want to ponder. I definitely want to answer this one, but I think
It's tough. It is a tough one.
It's tough, but I think it would be the odds-on favorite right now because I'm tossing back and forth between two characters, but I think right now I'm leaning towards Coach Beard. Not because he's like but I think it's because he's also grown out quite a bit as a person too. But he shows loyalty to Lasso, but yet he still has his times where he goes out and does this crazy shit on his own, and he's a little bit quirky. And I think I kind of like that character in him, but he also has like that serious side to him too. But I'm not really sure that's the one I really would want to be. I'm kind of leaning towards that, but there's another character that I like too a lot. If I were to choose a character inside of there, but right now I'm kind of leaning towards Coach Beard. But I want to come back to that one because I'm not like 100% on that.
All right. Is there anyone you most relate to? Not so much that you want to be, but anyone you more relate to.
That I relate to as a person, I think probably maybe that's why I like Coach Beard. I think I kind of relate to him a little bit with some of my past antics from like my early my college years to my early 20s. But as like when I went into like the insurance industry and stuff like that, some of the mentors I worked with and stuff like that allowed me to get a lot of the same kind of feelings or approaches and things that you get from Ted Lasso, which I really enjoyed as well. And I think that's another reason why I like his character a lot too. But I don't want to cop out and say Ted Lasso either, you know?
Here's my struggle is I think I most relate to Ted Lasso because most of my life, whether it be for work or anything else, I have absolutely deteriorated the things that mattered most to me by not taking care of myself, and therefore I have hurt the people that meant most to me. I have, in essence, pushed them away or done terrible things in a purview or not. And I think that that's part of the thing is like, it's not that Ted Lasso had to be a bad person, but he pushed people away in his personal life by not taking care of himself. And it's not that he wasn't trying to take care of them. It's that he wasn't taking care of himself. And dude, when we become miserable assholes, nobody wants to be around us. So I think that's it. So because of that, I'll tell you right now, man, if I could be anyone in this show, it would be Rebecca. It would be his boss. And that's because you mentioned the growth that some of these characters face and everything else. And I think at the end of the day, I want to be someone so strong that I am comfortable in my own skin at the end of this show. And I think she is. And then she's also not willing to give up 51%, even though she's given 49%. She's holding true to what her thoughts were. I don't want to take this away from the fan. I want everyone to be able to enjoy this, not just the uber rich. And at the end, when she gives 49%, spoiler alerts all throughout, by the way, when she sells 49% to the fans, it was beautiful.
Yeah, the way that ended was great to see that because you saw how much it means to the fans to have that team. And I think the best part is like when you see those concerning the fans in this case is like when they go into the pub and you see like the pub owner, I forget her name, and then the three goons, and how they always interact with the coaches and stuff like that. And you see the importance of like how sports does play in people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Or anything that brings a community together.
Right. Any other kind of like questions? I know like you have some good questions there. So any other questions?
The only other question I had was if there were any standout moments after watching 3 seasons and having a moment to think about them, what are some of the standout moments through 3 seasons to you?
One of the big standout moments to me, which happened in season 3, and it did bring a tear to my eye. It's bringing a tear to my eye right now, to my eyes, I should say, is when the team starts pulling out little bits and pieces of the sign that says "Believe," and
each one of them kept a piece.
Yeah. Because Ted, throughout the whole time frame, from season 1 all the way until season 3, he talked about belief in themselves, believe in the team, and to see Nate the Great, that character, the Indian character, tear down that sign. I think he regretted it the moment that he did it, but he tore down that sign, feeling that he was being underappreciated when he really wasn't being. I think he just couldn't see past the trees, right? He couldn't see the forest past the tree in front of him. And I think Ted was kind of grooming him to help become a better coach and stuff like that, but he just didn't want to accept that coaching at that point in time. But to see how Ted kind of like he talked about belief, and then when the sign fell down, he's like, well, he rips it up. He's like, we don't need this anymore. You guys all believe in yourselves. And he throws it away, but he never knew that they all went back and grabbed a piece of that sign. And then when they put it together, I was like, wow, that is truly impactful. The other like I don't know. This one's more of a funny moment though, and then when it comes to sports, and it doesn't matter if you played a sport or not, or if you do some other kind of activity, but everyone has kind of like their superstitions, like, oh, I got to do this a certain way, or it won't pan out the right way, right? And so, like, one of the things that they talked about is like you don't go into the training room because like there's ghosts or whatever. So when they excise the ghosts in the training room, I thought that was pretty funny. And I really enjoyed that.
Well, especially when you see like some of them really gave away meaningful things to potentially benefit the team. I agree with you. Man, there were so many impactful.
There were a ton of them.
Moments.
Yeah.
Jason Sudeikis,
or I don't know. I don't know what it is. Sorry if we mispronounced your name, sir.
And Brendan Hunt did a phenomenal job here. And
that's Coach Beard, right?
Yeah. And from, the end to the beginning, there were so many moments nonstop that are memorable. And that's what's phenomenal about this show to me is, granted, it's 3 seasons. It's not like a 3-hour movie. But I think about the last episode when he goes home finally and his son runs to him. That's what every dad wants, is to create an environment. We don't always succeed, but we want that. We try to give that. That was beautiful. Another moment, same episode, earlier in the episode, ironically, is when his ex-wife and son are cheering for his team. Ultimately, they're cheering for him. And there's other dynamics that don't need to be mentioned, but it's just beautiful that it can be separate, but also understanding enough to appreciate people, whether or not there's been distance or hurt. I agree with you with the believe sign. I love when Jamie teaches Roy how to ride a bike.
That's another great one. Because his grandfather was
supposed to teach him and then died right before he taught him.
Yeah.
And
did he say fuck grandpa or something like that?
He says a lot of F's. And I feel bad for people who never have a friend like that because, and this is of course, a stereotype, but it's pretty consistent. Otherwise, stereotypes wouldn't exist. That is a man's friendship. We can get in fights and be best friends 30 minutes later. It's ridiculous. We can be the best of friends right after we had a huge argument. And
you want to go grab something to eat?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm starving. You can watch me eat. You're still training.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but that's what you're talking about. They just got done fighting, and then they like their buddies. Are like,
literally, the point is, it's understood that that's not meant to be an end, and it's so sad that in so many relationships there can't be a fight that literally leads to food and growth. Because most of it ends to separation and distance. But I thought that was great. Man, I loved when we see, and it sucks because Rebecca and her ex-husband go to a potential Super League dinner party, but we get to see them in a presence from before they were divorced, where they were actually for a few moments supporting each other. And it's so sad. The guy was a goddamn tool ultimately and was cheating on her that they couldn't stay a strong couple. That made me sad. It was also great when you get to see that Ted Lasso's psychiatrist the team psychologist, was dealing with issues of her own. And he goes to her house to make sure she's okay. And you're looking around and it's like, God damn, this woman's got more problems than we've got, Scotch. And
it's funny when he's like playing like the audio messages from her after she got into that accident and she was like all doped up and she called, for some reason she called him and he got like all these like funny messages.
But I you say for some reason, I think at the end of the day, psychologically, she knew he was actually the one person she could count on showing up for her, no matter how she treated him.
Oh, I agree with that. I up to that point, you see like he hasn't been super receptive to her, and she hasn't been receptive to him either. But yet there was that mutual respect where she knew she could count on him, and that's the reason why she called him. And that I think a lot of the stuff that you see here, like relationships, like between like Jamie and Roy, or between Lasso and Rebecca, or even between Keeley and Rebecca, or even with Nate the Great and his
girlfriend,
or
he's never there when he calls her his girlfriend,
or even like Nate the Great and his and Rupert, the ex-husband who became his boss in season 3. A lot of these like situations, even like a lot of it's all reality based, but yet they find a great way to share these experiences that we've all are familiar with, and the way they show like these people navigate through it is really a scene of beauty of how it's done, and allows you to laugh and cry because you can relate to it so well. And as you said, football or soccer, as we like to call it in America, was just a background for this wonderful story that was portrayed.
It was. And for me, I think the bottom line is Ted Lasso is great. Not because he was genius, but because he did, as you mentioned at the very beginning of the show, smart enough, high enough IQ, but an EQ that is always undervalued and appreciated, except in very few realms. And some of those would be by psychologists or psychiatry or sociology or social psychology, in the sense of one person can make that profound of an impact over a duration of time. But it does take, my experiences, it does take over a year. And the reason that this show made so much sense to me, that it was 3 years and that it took 3 years and they got to where they were after 3 years, is because through all of my life, anyone great stepping into a role at the 3-year mark is when you can absolutely weigh their success. And a great person will have a huge success, even if it's not measurable in dollars or pounds.
All right, I'm gonna just stick with Coach Beard because, like, I do relate. I do relate more closely with them, but on some matters.
Now you just got to find the crazy girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then I'm gonna have to listen to it all fucking night. He'll be breaking up. Actually, she'll be breaking up with him, and he'll be just like, "My heart's broken." Okay, wait, it's okay. I just got a text. We're back together. But that's real. And I loved that about his character, in the sense of, I actually think it's great because you guys are probably going to have the best chance for a long relationship of anyone besides Nate and his invisible girlfriend, who wasn't invisible. I think they will have the most stable relationship, but I think he will have the longest relationship, in the sense of they both understand, hey, we're both crazy.
Right.
I went to a club with naked people and crosses on the walls. I'm repenting. At first, when I saw it, I was like, wait, did she really go to church? No, church has neon crosses.
Exactly.
But then when he goes to the church and thinks for a second it might be a church, I'm like, something's really twisted. Oh, it stopped raining. He can hear the rave music now. All right.
Was that all the questions?
Those were all the questions I had. Any others from you?
No, I don't. I think it's a really enjoyable TV series. I think if someone hasn't seen it, they should really watch it. Just be prepared, because I wasn't prepared when I was watching these 3 seasons, because I wasn't paying attention originally. I thought they were all like 30 minutes long. and by the time I finished the second season, I'm like, wow, that was like a really long time. Like, I thought I'd be done by season 3 by now. Then I noticed like these were like hour-long episodes, and I did not time manage well, because I was expecting internally, because I got used to season 1 being 30 minutes, that I didn't really like pay attention to my time when the episode started getting longer. And then I was quite surprised at the time when I stopped watching, like, holy crap, I just wasted a ton of time.
Only wasted it if you didn't grow.
Yeah. But I did not intend to like watch that much of that series that quickly. But it was fun. It was a fun binge watch. I do recommend this series, and I think everyone should watch it, because there's a lot to learn from it. And there's a lot of, I think you can relate to almost every character in there, no matter what your experience is.
Hopefully not too much Rupert.
Yeah, hopefully not Rupert.
Or what's the Nigerian guy's
Oh, like the billionaire dude?
Which is tragic, because they make a big deal about him being a billionaire, and at the end you realize Rebecca's a billionaire too.
Yeah. Well, that's another good thing about like her being a billionaire too, right? Is that the person who is funding Keely's company taking all that money away, and she didn't like really believe in Keely. It didn't matter what Keely did in the past, where Rebecca was like, hey, I know you. I know the job you've done. I know you did things in the past. I don't care. We're friends. Here's the loan for you for your business, and make it work.
Oh, it's another great scene, because Keely writes on a Post-it how much money, and Rebecca, she finally is like, what are you doing? She's like, this is how they do it in the movies. And she shows her the number, and she's like, that's it?
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And she's like, I think I've got that on me in cash. In other words, this is probably right around, I'm guessing, to the tune of $1 million, which sounds like a lot, unless you've got 1,000 plus times that. And in which case, when you give $1 away and you've got 1,000, $1 is not so much.
Right.
And also, when you give $1 away and there's potential that it's going to come back as $100, it's nothing.
See, and that's also a great thing too. I think that you mentioned it in Ted Lasso too, about mentorship. How every mentor eventually expects the person that they're mentoring to leave the coop and go fly and go do their thing.
Well, and also go do their thing and also benefit someone else.
Yeah.
Like, we don't do these things trying to have a one-time benefit. When you and I mentor people, it's not so that they only have one good day. It's so that they improve beyond that day and hopefully help someone else. And in most cases, I think they do.
So, all right. Well, that's all I have really to say. Do you have any last words on it?
I loved it. Great show. Heartwarming, tear-jerking. I'm an emotional person, so I went through a lot of tears. I was glad last night. Aiden, I love you. I was glad when you were dozing off during a couple points of the show, because I was absolutely crying. It wasn't like just a tear. It was hands on my face. Oh, my God. So I think it's important to have movies that make us feel. I think it's important, as they talk about as the Diamond Dogs in that last piece, art can be perfect. And I think that's what they were searching for with this, and they succeeded. So again, Sudeikis, Jason, Brendan Hunt, well done. Beautiful piece of art.
Yep. I totally agree. All right. Next week's
All right, next week's Smarter Challenge going to be a little bit less of a tearjerker, a lot more of some science and action. It's going to be Tenet. They're re-releasing it for 1 week only, as we know, or as they're saying, Chris Nolan wanted us to see it. It's only 6 minutes longer than the previous version as we viewed, but we're going to go see this and do a movie review on that, and maybe talk a little bit about the science behind the movie. The Scotch will be the Bruichladdich Island Barley 2013 edition.
All right. Sounds like a great time. All right. So thank you, everyone who, if you made it this far, thank you for watching us and listening to us. We greatly appreciate all of you that view us on YouTube and Rumble and listen to us on the many different podcast platforms. We do greatly appreciate all of you and your support. If you do like our show and you made it this far, please hit that like button there or hit the subscribe button. That does help us out, and leave some comments down below and share it with your friends and family who might appreciate this show as well. I guess with that, I'll give it to Jesse to close us out.
Remember, life is great. Drink responsibility. Life should be great. That does not mean it's always going to be easy, and ironically, often the harder you have to fight, the greater that life is. And with that, until next week. Scotchman! Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.